While my daughter was lying in the hospital, her fragile body connected to tubes and machines that beeped in haunting rhythms. Her husband was nowhere to be found. I searched the corridors, hoping, praying, that maybe I had overlooked him. Maybe he had stepped out to make a call, to grab a coffee, to breathe. But no. Hours later, when I finally discovered where he was, the truth hit me like a dagger. He wasn't by her side. He wasn't pacing in worry like me. He wasn't even in the hospital, Dot. He was across the city, laughing, drinking, raising a glass at a birthday celebration, like his wife wasn't fighting for her life. And at that moment, something inside me shattered. Something inside me burned. The man who had promised to love her, to cherish her, to stand by her in sickness and in health, had chosen to celebrate while she hovered between life and death. But what he didn't know, what no one at that party knew, was that an hour later, everything in his world would begin to fall apart. And I would be the one to start it. Dot, my name is Daniel Carter. I'm no millionaire, no celebrity, no powerful figure you'd recognize from television. I'm just a man, a father, a widower, who gave everything he had for one person. My daughter, Emily. She was the light of my life, my anchor, my reason to keep going after my wife passed away far too soon. I raised Emily on my own. Every scraped knee, every tearful night, every exam she needed help preparing for, it was me. I worked double shifts, skipped meals, and gave up every comfort, so Emily never had to feel the emptiness I felt after losing her mother. And for years, I thought I had done a decent job. She grew into a beautiful, strong, kind young woman. When she told me she had found the man she wanted to spend her life with, I trusted her choice. I wanted to believe that after all my sacrifices, fate would finally reward us. But I should have listened to that whisper in my heart, the whisper that told me something wasn't right about him. Before I take you deeper into my story, a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and a revenge you'll never forget, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next. I remember the first time she brought him home. His name was Ryan. He was smooth, charming, the kind of man who knew how to win people over with just a smile. "Dad, this is Ryan," Emily said with a sparkle in her eyes. I shook his hand. Firm grip. Too firm, like he was trying to prove something. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Still, Emily's happiness was all that mattered to me, so I welcomed him. Over time, I noticed small things. He always steered conversations back to himself. He bragged about his career, his car, his so-called big plans. And when Emily talked about her own dreams, he dismissed them with a quick nod and a "that's nice, babe." One evening, when Emily stepped into the kitchen, I caught him scrolling through his phone, smirking at a photo. The way he looked, up at me, defensive, almost irritated, told me I wasn't supposed to see that. Still, I held my tongue. Emily was happy. Or at least, she thought she was. Who was I to shatter her illusion? The wedding came fast. Too fast, if you asked me. A small ceremony, simple but beautiful. I stood there, giving her away, my chest heavy with both pride and fear. I whispered to her, "As long as you're happy, sweetheart, that's all I care about." She smiled, squeezed my hand, and said, "I am, Dad. I really am." But deep down, a storm was already brewing. Marriage changes people. At first, Ryan played the role well. Attentive husband, charming son-in-law. But it didn't take long for cracks to show. He controlled the finances. Emily, who once was so independent, suddenly had to ask him before buying even small things. He worked late, or so he claimed, but often returned smelling of alcohol, his tie loose, his shirt unbuttoned. When I asked Emily about it, she brushed it off. "Dad, he's just stressed with work. He's trying." But I knew better. I had lived long enough to recognize excuses. Then came the family dinners he skipped, the anniversaries he forgot, the nights Emily called me in tears, saying she felt alone even while sitting next to him. I wanted to confront him, to grab him by the collar and demand he treat my daughter with the respect she deserved. But Emily begged me not to. "Dad, please. I don't want to fight with him. It'll get better." So I stayed silent. I swallowed my anger. I prayed things would change, but they didn't. It was a Sunday morning when Emily collapsed in her home. I'll never forget the call, her neighbor's trembling voice on the line. "Mr. Carter, it's Emily. She's been rushed to the hospital." My heart stopped. I dropped everything and sped to the hospital, my mind racing, fear clawing at my chest. When I reached the ICU, I saw my daughter lying there, pale and fragile, hooked up to machines, struggling to breathe. "Dad," she whispered weakly before slipping into unconsciousness. I grabbed her hand, tears streaming down my face. "I'm here, baby. I'm not going anywhere." But where was her husband? Where was the man who had promised to love her, protect her, and cherish her through sickness and health? I asked the nurse, "Has Ryan been here?" She shook her head. "No one's come by except you." I called him. Straight to voicemail. I texted. No reply. Hours passed, and still nothing. And that's when I learned the truth. He wasn't at the hospital. He wasn't even near it. While my daughter fought for her life, her husband was celebrating at a party. And in that moment, something inside me broke forever. The steady beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound that kept me tethered to reality. I sat by Emily's bedside, her hand cold in mine, her breathing shallow. Machines surrounded. Her fragile body, each one a reminder of just how close I was to losing the only family I had left. I leaned in, whispering, "I'm right here, sweetheart. Dad's not going anywhere. You fight, okay? You fight." But the silence from her was deafening. Hours slipped by. Nurses came and went, adjusting tubes, checking vitals, scribbling notes. They gave me looks, some filled with pity, others with quiet admiration. They knew I hadn't left her side once, but every time the door creaked open, I hoped, no, I expected to see Ryan walk in, to see him finally realize what mattered, to see him rush to her side, devastated, broken, and ready to fight alongside us. But he never came. By midnight, my patience cracked. I grabbed my phone, dialing his number again. Straight to voicemail. I tried again, and again. Each time, that same robotic voice pierced me like a knife. "The number you have dialed is unavailable. Please try again later." I clenched the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. My breathing grew heavy. Finally, I called Emily's best friend, Lisa. She picked up after a few rings. "Mr. Carter? Is Emily okay?" Her voice trembled with worry. "She's in critical condition," I said, my voice breaking. "Lisa, do you know where Ryan is?" "I can't reach him. He's not here." There was a pause on the other end. A long, guilty pause. "Mr. Carter, I shouldn't be the one to tell you this, but Ryan's at a party." His friend posted a live video on social media. It looked like a birthday celebration. The room tilted. My vision blurred with rage. "A party?" I whispered, my throat tightening. "While his wife is in the ICU?" Lisa hesitated, then added softly, "I saw him. He was laughing, drinking, like nothing was wrong." My chest burned. My hands shook. For the first time that night, I wasn't just afraid for Emily. I was furious. I stood up, pacing the cold hospital floor. How could he? How could he dare abandon her now, when she needed him most? Memories flashed before me. Ryan smiling smugly at our first dinner together, dismissing Emily's dreams, controlling her every step. And now, when her life hung in the balance, he had chosen. Celebration. A nurse walked in, gently touching my arm. "Sir, you should get some rest. We'll take care of her tonight." I looked at Emily and back at the nurse. My voice cracked. Her husband should be here, not me. Him. Why am I the only one? The nurse's eyes softened. Sometimes the people who should care the most don't. But she has you, and that's more than enough. But it wasn't enough. Not anymore. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to sit quietly while that man disrespected my daughter, our family, and everything we'd endured. If he wouldn't come to Emily, I would go to him. The address wasn't hard to find. I'd seen enough photos, enough tags online to know where Ryan's crowd liked to gather. A rooftop lounge in the city, glittering lights, laughter spilling into the streets. As I pulled up outside, music thundered from the top floor. The doorman looked at me suspiciously. An old man in worn clothes, clearly out of place among the sleek cars and polished shoes. But I didn't care. I marched past him, my heart pounding with rage, my fists clenched at my sides. The elevator doors opened, and the sound hit me like a wall. Thumping bass, clinking glasses, loud chatter. Balloons hung from the ceiling. Champagne bottles sparkled under neon lights. And there he was, Ryan, not my son-in-law, my daughter's husband, standing at the center of it all, wearing a crisp shirt, his arms slung around another woman's shoulders, laughing like the world belonged to him. For a moment I froze. The sheer audacity of it all nearly knocked the breath from me. I stormed forward, pushing through the crowd. Heads turned. Whispers followed me. "Who's that? Isn't that Emily's dad? Why's he here?" I didn't stop. I reached him, grabbed his arm, and spun him around. His smile faltered for a split second before returning in a smirk. "Daniel, what a surprise." My voice shook with rage. "A surprise? You call this a surprise? Your wife, my daughter, is fighting for her life in the hospital, and you're here, laughing, drinking?" The crowd quieted, the music suddenly too loud in the silence that fell around us. Ryan chuckled, shaking his head. "Relax, old man. Emily's strong. She'll be fine. No need for me to sit around in some depressing hospital room." My hand trembled, itching to strike him. "She needs you. And this is where you are? What kind of man are you?" He leaned in close, his voice dripping with arrogance. "The kind of man who doesn't waste his life waiting around for someone else's drama. Emily's your responsibility, not mine." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even his friends shifted uncomfortably. I stared at him, stunned, my vision blurred with fury. "Not your responsibility?" "She's your wife," he shrugged, sipping his drink casually. "She's your daughter first. Maybe if you raised her better, she wouldn't be so weak." That was it. I lunged at him, my fist colliding with his smug face. The glass in his hand shattered as he stumbled back, blood trickling from his lip. Gasps and screams filled the air. Someone grabbed my arm, pulling me back, but my voice thundered over the chaos. "You may think you've won, Ryan. You may think you've humiliated me tonight. But I promise you this. This isn't over. You will regret every single choice you made. I will make sure of it." He wiped the blood from his mouth, smirking. "We'll see about that, old man." As I walked out of that party, my heart still racing, the night air hit me like ice. I leaned against my car, trembling, my fists raw from the blow, and that's when it happened. A voice inside me, firm, steady, undeniable, spoke louder than my grief. "If he won't stand for my daughter, I will make him fall." I knew then that this wasn't just about Emily anymore. It was about justice, about dignity, about proving that men like Ryan couldn't walk over people and escape unscathed. That night, as Emily fought for her life in that hospital bed, I made a silent vow. I would destroy him. Not with violence, not with fists, but with truth, with patience, with undeniable proof of who he really was. And when the time came, the whole world would see Ryan for what he truly was. The morning after the party, I sat in my kitchen staring at a cold cup of coffee. My knuckles still ached from the punch I'd landed on Ryan's smug face. I kept replaying the scene in my head, the laughter, the music, the disbelief on people's faces, and most of all, Ryan's arrogance. Emily was still in the hospital, unconscious, clinging to life. And her husband, the man who had vowed to love and protect her, had chosen champagne and balloons over loyalty and compassion. I should have felt ashamed for losing control that night. But I didn't. If anything, the fire inside me had only grown. That was the moment I realized something crucial. I couldn't just rely on Emily's survival to set things right. I had to take action. I returned to the hospital later that morning, guilt tightening my chest. I worried Emily might have woken up, only to find her father missing. But when I entered the ICU, she was still unconscious, her chest rising and falling slowly with each machine-assisted breath. I sat down, holding her hand gently. "Sweetheart," I whispered, "you hang in there. I know you can't hear me, but I need you to fight. Because while you're fighting in there, I'm going to fight out here. For you, for us." The nurse entered, offering a tired smile. "She's stable for now, Mr. Carter, but it's touch and go." I nodded, though. My stomach churned. Touch and go. Words no parent ever wanted to hear. That night, alone in the hospital's waiting room, my mind wandered back through Emily's marriage. There had been signs all along, small things. The way Ryan dismissed her opinions in conversations. How he rolled his eyes when she mentioned her art, her dreams of opening a small gallery. He never saw her passion, only the cost. I remembered the holidays when Emily came home with forced smiles and stories that didn't quite add up, and how she defended him every single time, saying, "Dad, you just don't understand him." Like I do. I had wanted to believe her. I had wanted to trust that she'd built a life worth living. But now, in this sterile hospital, with machines keeping her alive, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Ryan was poison dot, and poison needed to be purged. Got it started small. A thought. A whisper. But the more I sat there, the stronger it grew. What did Ryan really do when Emily wasn't looking? Who were those people he partied with? Where did his money come from? How could he afford the lavish lifestyle he flaunted when his job barely scratched the surface of his expenses? Questions piled up, heavier and heavier, until they crushed whatever hesitation I had left. I knew one thing with absolute clarity. Ryan had secrets, and I was going to find them. I wasn't naive. I couldn't just storm into his life demanding answers. Ryan was younger, smoother, and surrounded by people who would shield him. I needed help. That's when I remembered my old friend, Michael Donovan, a lawyer. We'd lost touch after my wife passed away, but he had always been a sharp, no-nonsense man. If anyone could guide me through a war one wasn't prepared for, it was him. I picked up the phone, hesitated, then dialed. "Daniel?" His voice carried surprise. "It's been years." "How are you, old friend?" I swallowed hard. "Not good. Michael, my daughter, she's in the hospital. And her husband, he's not who he pretends to be. I need your help." There was silence, then a sigh. "Meet me tomorrow. Bring everything you know." "And Daniel?" "If you're serious about this, there's no turning back." "I've already decided," I said firmly. "This ends now." The next day, we sat in his dimly lit office, papers scattered across his desk. Michael leaned back in his chair, studying me. "You look tired, Daniel." "I haven't slept much." "Emily's condition?" And Ryan's betrayal. My voice trailed off. Michael nodded. Tell me everything. And I did. From Emily's early marriage struggles, to Ryan's arrogance, to the birthday party while Emily lay dying. I left nothing out. When I finished, Michael rubbed his chin. I believe you. Men like him often hide skeletons. Fraud, affairs, debt, the mask doesn't stay on forever. I leaned forward. So how do we expose him? Michael's eyes narrowed. We start by digging, quietly. Bank statements, business records, property deeds, social media. We build. A case so airtight that when the moment comes, he won't be able to deny a single word. A fire ignited in my chest. I want him ruined, Michael. Not with violence. I want the truth to destroy him. Michael gave a small smile. Then you've come to the right place. Over the next week, between hospital visits, I met with Michael almost daily. He pulled strings, called in favors, and taught me how to observe without being noticed. We started with Ryan's finances. His salary was modest, but his spending was outrageous. Luxury cars, designer clothes, vacations to Europe. It didn't add up. Where does the money come from? I asked one evening, staring at a stack of credit card statements. Michael tapped a finger against the paper. Not from legal work, that's for sure. I suspect fraud. Or worse. The deeper we dug, the more cracks appeared. Fake business deals, questionable transfers, and whispers of another woman, someone Ryan had been seeing with long before Emily. Fell ill. Each discovery was like a knife to the gut. But with every knife, my resolve hardened. It wasn't easy. I was no detective, no businessman, just a father who loved his daughter too much to watch her be destroyed by the man she had trusted. But as the days turned into weeks, I felt something change inside me. I was no longer the broken, weeping man in the hospital waiting room. I was becoming someone else, someone sharper, someone stronger, someone willing to fight in ways I never thought I could. Every late night with Michael, every file we uncovered, every secret that slipped through Ryan's mask, they all built me up, piece by piece, and I knew this was only the beginning. Meanwhile, Emily remained unconscious. Some days her vitals improved, and I let myself hope. Other days, the doctors shook their heads, and despair swallowed me whole. I whispered to her constantly, Emily, I need you to come back to me. You need to see what I'm doing for you. You need to see that your father will not let him get away with this. Sometimes I swore I saw her fingers twitch, and that tiny movement was enough to keep me going. One night, sitting across from Michael, I said quietly, it's not enough to find dirt on him. We need to destroy him publicly, where it hurts most, his reputation. Michael's eyes gleamed. I was hoping you'd say that. Because I have just the idea. He leaned in, lowering his voice. What if we let him trap himself? Give him the rope, let him hang by his own lies? We gather everything, but we wait for the perfect stage. A family gathering. A public event. Somewhere he thinks he's untouchable. That's where we drop the truth. I felt my lips curl into a grim smile. Yes, that's exactly what I want. That night, I walked out of Michael's office taller, steadier. For the first time in months, I felt like I had control. Ryan had built his empire on lies, and I was going to bring it all crashing down. The days blurred together. Hospital corridors, sleepless nights, and the endless beeping of machines keeping Emily alive. Yet underneath my exhaustion, something new thrummed inside me. Focus. Every time I held Emily's hand, I whispered the same promise. Stay strong, sweetheart. I'm building something for you. Something that will make sure the man who broke your trust never hurts you again. On the surface, I was a father waiting by his daughter's side. But beneath, I was building a case, A storm. A reckoning. Michael was meticulous. He spread documents across his office table like puzzle pieces, his sharp eyes scanning for the missing connections. "Here," he said one evening, pointing to a series of transactions. "Look at this. Thousands flowing through accounts that shouldn't even exist. He's hiding money, Daniel." I leaned over, squinting. "Whose account is that?" "Not his. Not Emily's. Someone else's name? A woman." Michael slid a photo across the table. Grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Ryan with a tall brunette, holding hands as if they were lovers. My stomach turned. So he had someone else, while my daughter was fighting for her marriage. Michael's voice was low but firm. "Affairs are one thing, but look deeper. He's funneling money into her accounts. Trips, jewelry, expensive gifts, all while Emily's medical bills were piling up." I gripped the edge of the table, my nails digging into the wood. He let my daughter rot in a hospital bed while he spoiled another woman? Michael nodded gravely. "And that's not all. He's also tied up in shady business deals. Some of these transfers look like laundering. If we can trace them, we can prove criminal activity." My rage solidified into something colder, calculated, deadly precise. This isn't just about exposing him anymore. This is about burying him. In the weeks that followed, I became someone unrecognizable. Gone was the weary father who broke down in hospital corridors. I woke up early, collected files, made calls, followed leads. At night, I split my time between Emily's bedside and Michael's office. I learned to read bank statements, decode property deeds, understand shell companies. I wasn't just leaning on Michael anymore. I was working beside him. One night, Michael looked at me with something like admiration. "You've changed, Daniel. Most men your age would have folded under this kind of pressure." I shook my head. "I don't have the luxury of folding. I have a daughter to protect and a man to destroy." Meanwhile, Ryan continued his charade. Social media posts of parties, expensive dinners, photos with friends. He looked untouchable, but behind the screen, his mask began to crack. One night, Lisa visited me at the hospital. She sat quietly for a while, then said, "Mr. Carter, I don't know if I should tell you this, but Ryan's been bragging." "Bragging?" I asked, my jaw tightening. She nodded. "He tells people that Emily's illness is a burden he never signed up for. That you'll probably handle everything because you're the soft one. He laughs about it. Says he's free to live his life." I closed my eyes, forcing myself not to explode. "Thank you for telling me, Lisa. You did the right thing." Inside, though, the fire burned hotter. Every word he spoke in arrogance was another rope tightening around his neck, but it wasn't easy. There were nights when I sat in the hospital bathroom, splashing water on my face, whispering, "Am I becoming the very thing I hate? A man consumed by revenge?" Then I'd step back into Emily's room, see her pale face, her still body, and the answer was clear. No, this wasn't about revenge alone. It was about justice. About ensuring she woke up to a world where the man who betrayed her was powerless. One rainy evening, Michael laid out the first version of our plan. We keep collecting evidence until it's airtight. Bank transfers, photographs, witnesses. We let him feel safe. The more careless he becomes, the stronger our case grows. I nodded slowly. And then? Michael's eyes gleamed. Then we hit him where it hurts. Publicly. Somewhere he can't escape. A family gathering, perhaps. A community event. Somewhere he has a reputation to maintain. I leaned back, imagining it. Ryan standing tall, smirking, surrounded by friends and family, until I stepped forward, calm and steady, dropping every piece of evidence like a hammer. A small, grim smile tugged at my lips. I want him stripped of everything. His pride, his lies, his mask. Michael chuckled darkly. You've got the fire for it. Now we just need patience. Then, one night at the hospital, something miraculous happened. I was holding Emily's hand, whispering the same words I always did. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm fighting for you. When her fingers twitched out at first, I thought I imagined it. But then it happened again. Emily? My heart leapt. Sweetheart, can you hear me? Her eyelids fluttered, just for a second. And though she didn't, fully awake, that tiny movement was enough. Enough to remind me why I was fighting. I bent down, tears stinging my eyes. You come back to me, Emily, and when you do, you'll see what I've done. You'll see that no one gets to abandon you. No one. A week later, Michael stormed into his office with papers in hand, his face pale. Daniel, you need to see this. He spread the documents on the table. These aren't just shady business dealings. Ryan has been stealing from Emily directly. Her inheritance. The savings account you set up for her after your wife died. He drained it, Daniel. Every last cent. My blood ran cold. That money was for her future, I whispered. For the family she wanted to build. For her dreams. Michael's jaw tightened. He stole it all. To fund his parties. His mistress. His lifestyle. If this comes to light, he won't just lose his reputation. He could face prison. I stared at the papers, fury and grief colliding inside me. And then clarity settled over me like a storm breaking. This wasn't just about humiliation anymore. This was about justice. On a scale Ryan couldn't even imagine. That night, I walked out of Michael's office with the documents clutched in my hands. The city lights blurred as tears filled my eyes, but they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of resolve. I stopped in the middle of the street, looking up at the sky. Do you hear me? I whispered to my late wife. He stole from our daughter. He broke her. He mocked us. But I promise you, he will pay. Not tomorrow, not next week. But when the time comes, I'll bring him down in front of everyone. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something I thought I'd lost. Hope. That the city felt colder, sharper, as if it too sensed what was coming. Each day at the hospital was the same Emily fighting for her life, her chest rising and falling. With the machines, but my nights had changed. I wasn't the broken father anymore. I was a man with a mission. Every move I made was deliberate, every conversation calculated. Ryan thought I was just another grieving father who would eventually fade into silence. But in truth, I was building the stage where his entire world would collapse. Michael, and I spent long nights in his office, piecing together the final strands of Ryan's sins. Bank statements showed the flow of money from Emily's inheritance into his mistress's accounts. Photographs revealed his secret nights out, while Emily lay unconscious. Witnesses began to line up, neighbors, colleagues, even some of Ryan's so-called friends, each willing to testify about his arrogance and cruelty. This is enough to bury him, Michael said one night, his voice steady but sharp. If we take this to court, he'll lose everything. His reputation, his money, possibly his freedom. I shook my head slowly. No, Michael. Court is too quiet, too private. Ryan thrives on appearances. His pride is his fortress. We won't tear it down in silence. We'll do it in front of everyone he wants to impress. Michael raised an eyebrow. You want a public execution? Yes, I said firmly. A stage where the mask falls off and he can't hide. That's the justice Emily deserves. It was Michael who came up with the perfect opportunity. There's a family gathering coming up, he explained, flipping through his notes. Emily's cousin is hosting an anniversary celebration. Ryan's been invited, and he's already bragging about attending. The guest list is long: family, friends, colleagues, even a few community leaders. I leaned forward, my pulse quickening. That's it. That's where he falls. Michael nodded. We'll prepare everything. Documents, photos, testimonies. You'll walk in with undeniable proof, and he'll have no escape. But Daniel, his voice grew softer, you need to be ready for the aftermath. Once this begins, there's no turning back. I met his gaze with steady eyes. Michael, I've already burned the bridge behind me. There's nothing left to lose. The night after we finalized our plan, I sat by Emily's bedside, holding her hand. You won't believe what we're building, sweetheart, I whispered. Every lie he told, every cent he stole, every cruel word he spoke, it's all about to catch up to him. And when you wake up, you'll see him for what he truly is. For the briefest moment, her lips twitched as though trying to form a sian-la word. My chest tightened with hope. You're stronger than he'll ever be, I said softly. And I promise, when you open your eyes, the world will look different. Because I'll make sure of it. Michael reached out to contacts quietly. A banker confirmed Ryan's fraudulent transfers. A former employee revealed that Ryan had stolen funds from his own company. Even his mistress, when approached with evidence of his lies to her, cracked under pressure and agreed to provide testimony. He's surrounded by enemies now, Michael told me. He just doesn't know it yet. I nodded grimly. Good. Let him feel untouchable. The higher he climbs, the harder he'll fall. In the weeks leading up to the gathering, I played my role carefully. When I saw Ryan at the hospital one afternoon, his first visit in weeks, I didn't confront him. I simply nodded, offered a cold smile, and let him believe I was harmless. Still sitting here, old man? He sneered quietly as he walked past me. You should get used to the idea that she's not coming back. I already have. I said nothing, but inside, my resolve hardened like steel. Let him laugh now. Soon, his laughter would be replaced with screams of denial. 3 nights before the event, Michael poured himself a glass of whiskey and looked at me seriously. Daniel, you need to understand something. Men like Ryan, when they fall, they don't go quietly. He'll fight, deny, accuse. He may even try to turn others against you. You have to be prepared to stand tall when the room turns into chaos. I met his gaze, my voice steady. I've lived through worse. I buried my wife. I've watched my daughter fight for her life. There's nothing Ryan can throw at me that I can't face. Michael nodded slowly, as though finally convinced. Then let's finish this. The night before the gathering, Michael spread every document across the table one last time. Here's the sequence, he said. We start with the bank transfers. Then we move to the mistress's testimony. Then the stolen inheritance. Each piece builds on the last until he's cornered with no escape. I memorized every detail, every page. I wanted to deliver it with precision, with calm authority. Not as a man consumed by anger, but as a father exacting justice. Before I left Michael's office, I placed a hand on his shoulder. You've stood by me through this storm, Michael. Thank you. He shook his head. No thanks needed. Just finish it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked the hospital corridors, my mind alive with what tomorrow would bring. I stopped outside Emily's room, looking through the glass at her fragile body. My chest ached with both love and fury. This is it, Emily, I whispered. Tomorrow, he loses everything. For you, for us, for every sleepless night, every broken dream. Tomorrow, justice arrives. And for the first time in months, I felt peace. Not because the fight was over, but because it was about to reach its crescendo. The hall shimmered with golden lights, filled with the sound of clinking glasses and polite laughter. It was Emily's cousin's anniversary celebration, a night meant for love and family. But for me, it was the battlefield. I walked in quietly, dressed simply, holding a folder under my arm. I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to end this. I spotted Ryan across the room almost immediately. He was surrounded by people, laughing, raising his glass high, his charm in full display. No one would have guessed that behind his confident smile was a man built on lies. When his eyes met mine, he smirked. That same arrogant smirk that had haunted me for months. "Daniel," he said loudly enough for the crowd to hear, "glad you could crawl out of the hospital for once. Now I can't imagine what you're doing here." Whispers rippled through the crowd. I simply smiled faintly. "I'm here for the truth, Ryan." Michael stepped forward, his briefcase in hand. He gave me a subtle nod and opened it, pulling out the first set of documents. I turned to the crowd, my voice calm but cutting. "You all see Ryan here as a loving husband, a devoted man. But while my daughter, Emily, lay fighting for her life in the hospital, Ryan wasn't at her side. He was here, at parties, celebrating his own life while she clung to hers." Gasps filled the air. Ryan scoffed, waving dismissively. "Don't listen to him. He's an old man broken by grief. He doesn't know what he's saying." Michael handed me the first page. I held it up. "Then perhaps you can explain this, Ryan. A transfer of $50,000 from Emily's inheritance money, meant for her care straight, into an account belonging to a woman named Jessica." The room fell. Silent. Ryan's smirk faltered. "Who is Jessica, Ryan?" I asked, my voice steady. "Because she certainly isn't family." Ryan stammered, his charm cracking. That's a business associate. It was a loan, nothing more." But Michael was ready. He handed me photographs. I held them high. "Business associates don't spend weekends in luxury hotels, do they?" The photos spoke louder than any words. Ryan and Jessica hand in hand, laughing, intimate. The crowd gasped again, some guests whispering. Furiously, "You betrayed Emily while she was dying," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "You stole from her, lied to her, and flaunted it while she lay unconscious. You are not a husband. You're a parasite." Ryan's face flushed red. "You think this proves anything? So what if I made mistakes? It doesn't change the fact that Emily's condition isn't my fault." Michael handed me the final set of documents, bank records, testimonies, a signed statement from Jessica herself. I spread them across the table in the center of the room. "It's all here. The theft, the fraud, the betrayal. Witnesses have signed statements. Even Jessica admits the truth. You used Emily's money to fund your double life." The room erupted in anger, voices rising, people pointing at Ryan. His confident mask was gone. He looked cornered, panicked, desperate. "Lies!" he shouted, his voice cracking. "This is all lies. He forged it. He's trying to ruin me." I stepped closer, my eyes locked on his. "I don't need to ruin you, Ryan. You've done that all by yourself." The room fell silent as I took a deep breath. My voice grew softer, but every word carried weight. I gave everything for my daughter. I raised her alone after her mother died. I worked day and night so she could have a life filled with love and safety. And when she chose you, I trusted you with the most precious part of my life. My throat tightened, but I pushed through. "And how did you repay that trust?" "By abandoning her in her darkest hour, by stealing from her, by humiliating her. You betrayed not just her, but every single person who ever believed in you." I turned to the crowd. "Look at him. Look at the man who claimed to be a husband. Does this look like love? Does this look like respect?" People shook their heads, disgust clear on their faces. Ryan shrank under their gaze. For the first time, Ryan's arrogance crumbled. His voice shook, desperate. "Please, Daniel, stop. We can talk about this privately. Don't do this here." But I stood tall. "No, Ryan. You chose to live your life publicly, flaunting your lies. You'll face your truth publicly as well." The crowd closed in, the murmurs turning into shouts. Ryan's carefully built image shattered in front of everyone he cared to impress. He dropped to his knees, his voice breaking. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I needed more than what Emily could give." The words sealed his fate. I looked at him one last time. "You could have had everything, Ryan. A family, love, respect. But you threw it all away for greed and arrogance. And now you have nothing." I gathered the documents, handed them to Michael, and turned away. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt release. Justice had been served, not by violence, but by truth. As I walked out of the hall, the crowd's voices fading behind me, I whispered to myself, "This was for you, Emily." Back at the hospital that night, I sat by Emily's bedside. "Sweetheart," I whispered, holding her hand gently, "he can't hurt you anymore. The world knows the truth. You're safe now. And when you wake up, you'll see that love, respect, and honesty are worth more than any wealth or charm." Her fingers twitched against mine, and though her eyes remained closed, I felt her strength in that small movement. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to smile. "If you've ever believed that respect matters more than wealth," I said, my voice steady, "share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. And for more tales like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel." And with that, I ended not just my story, but the cycle of betrayal that had haunted us for far too long. Justice wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was simple, undeniable, and final.